Here on the forum, as always, we delve into the biggest stories of the week with bright minds in politics and legal affairs. Well, I'm Fritz Delanyo Amegashie. It's always a pleasure to be back this weekend and to look at some of the stories that are making headlines and causing people to talk. We have 3 issues today to get to, and with the help of our guests, we'll be able to do justice to some of the stories. Now, if you have been following the news terrain, the party's loss of the president to the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, and of course a significant reduction in its parliamentary seats. Now losing 50 and its majority seat in the process, the constitution review needed to make the party gain the love it lost in the last election. So on the show, we are asking you, the party tasking the 9-member committee to set up to investigate or make some amendment to the constitution of the party. Is that what the NPP really need to resurrect the love it lost in the last election? Many of these questions we'll be looking at prosecuting on the forum today. So 3 solid topics that has gained traction throughout the whole week. And with the help of my guests, we'll be looking at all of that as the show goes on. But let me also just remind you that we are streaming live on Facebook. I'd love to read your thoughts and comments. So if you feel very strongly about any of the 3 topics we'll be looking on the forum today, please don't hesitate to send your comment, because we want it to be all-encompassing, especially with the president marking his first 100 days in office. What does it mean to you? Looking at his performance, we for instance, the 24-hour economy, that arguably is the biggest policy of the NDC administration. They campaigned on the back of this promise, and it's been well over 90 days, and we still not have a cogent plan on how the 24-hour economy is going to pan out. I want to hear your thought on that, and of course, the 9-member committee that has been put together by the New Patriotic Party to make some amendments to the party's constitution. Is this going to be the solution the party really need to get back on its feet and be able to show a strong showing in the 2028 elections? And of course, we would also be looking at the minorities call for the CJ removal. You know that already there's
second kaniasem mato light him I yenim ho hwe 100 days idie ya de ko katamase district e beka sa amwayen bibia my because tete no cry tibre bia moto niam le bia ya to niam bibia aduane nyina atoto bibia ntenkoyi in 100 days there it be so normal for we feel uncomfortable. You know everything government go fit do give the nation people, you understand? Doing well. But no, by the end of the year everything will change. Yes, that's right.
I will give him a 70%, because at least he has fulfilled some of his campaign promises, manifesto, The promises he made in the manifesto, One is the betting tax, the import duty tax, I'll say, and also exposing past government officials of corruption. The reason I'm giving 70 is because he hasn't fulfilled the Galamsey issue and the Boku issue also. But if he's able to do that, then it's 100.
Well, those are some Ghanaians expressing their thought on President John Dramani Mahama marking his first 100 days since assuming office as president of the country. Like I rightly indicated, Professor John Osae Kwapong, a political scientist at CDD-Ghana, has joined us over the phone to start the conversation. Prof, many thanks for your time on the forum. A very good morning to you.
All of those things for me tells me that there is a conscious attempt to have the second presidency look different and much more quote-unquote improved than the first presidency because I believe he's also learned lessons from what happened in the first presidency that resulted in his 2016 loss just after 110. The second angle for me then is to look at the government's budget and economic policy that was presented to Parliament by the Honorable Finance Minister, and just to see the kinds of policy decisions that we can expect from his administration. I mean, one of the key promises that they made, which was repealing the e-levy, has already been taken care of. But there are also some major outstanding policy issues that were central to the campaign that we are still waiting to see how it would all flesh out and be implemented. The main one being the 24-hour economy. Because again, during the campaign, that was the signature economic policy that was going to bring about not just transformation, but the strengthening and improvement of the Ghanaian economy. So overall, for me, I look at the first 100 days and say, I like the fact that he's trying to make it a conscious effort to set a different tone for the second presidency, but waiting to see how the specific policies that he campaigned on will be rolled out in such a way that within the short to medium term, Ghanaians can begin to feel the material effect of those policies.
Prof, I want us to go into the specific of the policies the president outlined in the 120-day social contract that he wants to fulfill. But let me also just mention that the former Attorney General Nii Ayikoi Otoo has joined us via Zoom. A very good morning to you, lawyer. I'll come back to you very soon for your thought on the assessment of the president's 100 days in office. But Professor Kwapong, again, I was mentioning about the specific policies that the president at the time. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear. I hope you can also hear me.
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Let me begin with your assessment of the president's 100 days in office. He has given himself 120 days in office before he gives a proper accountability to the ordinary Ghanaian. Just 100 days, which was past Wednesday. Professor Osae Kwapong is saying that the president shouldn't have given himself a timeline respectfully. What do you think of in terms of assessment of the president's 100 days in office?
Well, thank you. You know that in politics, especially when it comes to campaign, you've got to sell and market yourself to the voting population, the electorates. And so there are things that people say to woo the electorate onto their side. And therefore, talking about 120 days social contract, what he would do within his first 100 days and all that are all part of the gimmick of politicking for the elections. Today, thanks to social media, one Google's Mahama's first 120 days contract and everything is there to nominate within the first 14 days a complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval. I don't think it happened within the 14 days. Some names came later, even considering deputy ministers and all that, which also took some time. Well, if it's the same as leanest and the most efficient government under the Fourth Republic, then so be it. About 60, that is what he says. I have not had time to count everybody. But there are even criticism that the number of government appointees, maybe office of the president or state machines, the 1 million coders. I think they are now starting it. Then amendment to scrap the law banning the importation of service vehicles. Not sure I've heard about it. And Blue Water Initiative, yes, I think it has started. Black Star Experience, I've heard something about it. Some saying that there's no need to change the name if you are only encouraging people to come back to the motherland, especially the Black Americans, to visit, as it was done in the NPP regime. Paired state security agencies of all militia and vigilante elements. I have not heard that. Reopen investigations into 2020 election killings, Iwaso was foregone by election violence, murder of Ahmed Swali. Yes, Ahmed Swali, we have been told that one of the culprits have been arrested. VRA spinach, I'm not too sure about that. Initiates compensation to flood victims. I think I heard something about that. Then carry out a shake-up of all loss-making SOEs and realign them to break even and transition into a project profit-making. I believe this is something which can take some time. So these is 120, the social contract that is signed with us. Some he has achieved, some he has not. As my other panelists on the other side, Dr. said, these things take time. And as I said, as for campaign, a lot of things, you want to woo them, you want to win their confidence to vote for you. So there are things you say, but it's supposed to be long term and not that short term, within 120 days. There are a lot of things that cannot happen. But I think a decision not to do that, they went ahead and removed. And every day we get up and we wake up to hear that more people are being removed. Now, those who were recruited after the elections, and some, it is even said before the elections, were all asked to go home. Yet the Constitution, gives them some protection that they cannot be just removed by way of victimization, but there must be stated reasons for removing, public servants, civil servants. But there you are, these people have all been terminated and asked to go home. We are hearing that government itself is borrowing a lot, about 70 billion from the domestic markets. The doomsday has not been completely resolved. We still keep on having problems with power outages. Now the LI, which was spoken about, when we talk about the doomsday, the Galamsey thing, LI 2462, we thought government was very serious about trying to scrap it all together. But government says, no, it cannot do that. And that if anything at all, it wants to take away the president's power to allow people to go there and allow the law to stay. I mean, civil society organizations are called upon him to scrap it. And it was one of the things that he campaigned upon, that this thing must go and that they're going to stop Galamsey. It has not. We are hearing that people are, doing Galamsey in the forest reserve still, in the West Form. So these are all part of some of the things that we've seen in these 100 days, the budget of 2.7 billion cedis, for government machinery, which compared with 327 million 2024.
Some explanations, some updates. For me, the Ghanaian voter, for me, would not be dismissive of you because you couldn't fulfill every single thing within 120 days. But I believe that they would appreciate, updates, explanations, and further pledges that, look, the administration is still, working on all of these things. But if you let that 120 days expire and not even say any word about it, for me, in my opinion, it would come off as though, well, we said it, the 120 days has passed, the voters would be okay, they know that we are working. Yes, the voters do know that you're working, but, part of governing is also constantly engaging your citizens, communicating with them, informing them. For me, I would not begrudge the administration if they are unable to roll out every single thing outlined in the 120-day social contract. Yes, there was a political risk in doing that, but we all know that it takes more than 120 days to even fulfill some of the things that were outlined. I've said before, I don't know why politicians tend to box themselves into some of these things, but I'm hoping that he can accomplish as much of it, because a lot of it was actually rolling out some key things that would sort of shape the way the administration wants to govern the country. And the things that are not able to be done within the 120 days, like I said, just let the people know and let them know why.
Prof, finally, before I let you go, if he's not able to accomplish the rest for the 120-day, is that likely to erode the goodwill that is currently enjoying? Because Global Info Analytics says that the president has great goodwill in terms of their survey they conducted. But given the big misses of the promises made, is it likely to have his goodwill eroded?
It depends on how you manage it, right? It depends on how you communicate with Ghanaians. But you're correct. It has the potential to chip at some of that extreme goodwill that was shown.
When he advises this president, he will listen.
Listen.
The other one, when he talks, he doesn't listen.
You heard my comments, I believe, on your way to the studio.
Yeah, I was listening.
Yeah.
Right. So
let me dive in.
Okay.
Where is Ama Daaku?
Ellen.
No, not Ellen. The one that was making noise here last week. Bedu. What's her name? Last week was making plenty noise here.
I didn't come last week.
Last week I was not around. She was making plenty noise here.
And we went around, so she was able to make noise.
Now that the men are in town, she's away. Tell them that they should come. The MPP, they are opposition. You see, opposition elements are not even in the studio. Opposition elements are late. Now, greetings to my constituency, of course, Trobo, my branch members, His Grace, AMB. Greetings to my boss, Dr. Randy Abe, and to everyone out there. Now, 100 days. You see, when you have to compare black and white, it becomes difficult. Don't you see?
It's very true.
Because no, but actually, it's easier when you compare black and white because the difference is clear.
There's
but when
one
you
black and there's one white.
Aha!
No in between.
There's no in between. But when you have to compare gray and black, then you begin to have a problem because it's similar, you can have some similarities. Here is a situation where this is a president that gave a 120-day contract with the people of the economy. And I'm giving you
24-hour economy. Well, I'm telling you that no, it hasn't.
We told you that there's a 24-hour policy that will be launched. You understand? We are working on it. You understand? You have to give us time to work on it. We have 120 days. You give us time to work on it. But at least signals are being said. DVLA has announced. And in fact, they've started working. DVLA, components of the DVLA have started working 24 hours. And so all outstanding driver's licenses have been cleared. And that's why you can check it from my brother, Logas. It's clear. Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For the first time, we are opening regional offices for you to be able to acquire your passports right in your region. You don't have to come to Accra, even travel from the north to anywhere. In the regions, every region is going to have its passport office. When we are moving the passport office to 24 hours, that is also there, clear. The 24-hour policy, Bajidi, it will
pass the ball.
Let me rest. Relax.
You're hijacking the show.
Let me hand over to Uncle Jantuah.
I will have to hand over to you.
Let me hand over to Uncle Jantuah.
It's my responsibility to hand over to him, right?
Continue the achievements of the John Mahama-led administration.
I have a few questions for you before I go to Kwame Jantuah. Still on the promises that was captured in the 120-day social contract. A lot of big misses. The president promised to constitute the leanest and most efficient government. Now, there's no indication from the president whether that is going to even make the ministerial appointment. We know that 46 out of the nominees so far have been sworn into office, which means that the president is only 4 ministers short of achieving his promise of working with a total of 60 ministers.
Are you not even happy that you have moved from 120 to 80? What was the old man, the last president? How many ministers did he have? 80.
But I didn't put the numbers to it.
Yes,
the president put numbers to it. Yes, so I'm holding.
He will work with approximately 60. He's even working with less. Are you not happy?
Are you not happy?
Hey,
Less money.
less money.
Eh?
You are shocked there.
No.
I don't. He's not used to it. You know, good governance.
A partisan political show.
But why are the MPP reps? Why are the MPP reps?
They are trying to turn my show into partisan, but
the
it's
MPP
not.
reps are not in.
Please hold your horses.
The MPP reps are not in, but it is a fact that the MPP reps are not in.
Nii, calm down. Let me go to Mr. Nii Ayikoi Otoo. Mr. Nii, it looks like less than 20 days for John Mahama to be able to accomplish some of the things he outlined in the social contract he had with Ghanaians. The biggest of it, of the 24-hour economy, mining still happening in forest reserve in this country. The party also said that they are going to put together a code of conduct and standard for government officials. There was also a promise that there will be a policy banning political appointees from purchasing state assets. We just have less than 18 days to go. Is it fair to say that the president will not be able to do this? And if he's not able to do that, what should he be telling the ordinary Ghanaian who he promised that he'll be able to do that?
Well, I have made the point already that if you're a politician and you are unable to make promises as to what you intend to do, then the people might not vote for you. For which reason, most people come on board and say things. I also said that the media, which the fourth estates, should be holding them to account to ask them whether those promises they are making are achievable. And that's the only way by which you can.
No, did they not have some kind of history behind them? How many times they had tried to access the seat? I think it's only President Mahama who hadn't gone through the trajectory of Akufo Addo, and even Rawling. But the one thing he went through was the fact that he went into opposition and was able to come back. I don't think when politicians make promises, they make promises on a whimsical idea that let's deceive the people. And yes, sometimes you come in and you realize what you thought was there is not there, so you've got to adjust. It is not an easy thing ascending to that seat called the presidency, ascending to that office called the presidency. And you should be the kind of individual who can have a certain mindset that can change things to the acceptance of the people who put you there. It's not an easy thing. We come on platforms and feel that, it's easy. They made a promise. They didn't fulfill that promise. President Kufuor, when he came in, what did he tell us? Have lean government. You do this. He came in, realized that, hey, Jack, this thing no be me lean government thing. And what did he do? He did the right thing by coming to apologize to the people of Ghana. That I thought at the time this would have been the right thing to do. But when I came in, I've seen it is different. At least he apologized. Some don't even consider the people and apologize to the people when they realize that things weren't as they planned it to be. Now, I remember President Mahama during the election period, and he was doing his visit to various institutions. He came to AGI, and I'm on the AGI, I'm the chairman of the energy sector on the AGI. He came to AGI, and he was talking about some of the things that he was looking forward to do. And I particularly stood up and asked him, Mr. President, that the demeanor of Ghanaians, the way Ghanaians were ready to invite him in. If he doesn't take that and decides to play chess killing with that, it will be to his own peril. It will be to his own peril. He cannot afford to misstep or misroad. Cannot afford to. Because Ghanaians are wide open. Their eyes are wide open. The challenges that they've been through in the last 8 years, they are not prepared to take those challenges again. Be it MPP, be it NDC, be it CPP citizens. They are not prepared. Ghanaians in general are not prepared to go through the challenges they went through in the last 8 years.
Mr. Jantuah, let's talk about the 24-hour economy. By far the biggest policy that the administration campaigned on before they came into power. We're just speaking to some Ghanaians on the streets of Accra who were assessing the performance of the president, and they talked about the 24-hour economy. I know Nii has said about the Ghana Publishing Company that is yet to be seen, but the ordinary Ghanaian who was told that there are going to be 3 shifts and 3 persons for one job still do not have the job after 100 days in office. You think that same Ghanaian has the same goodwill and happy about the administration?
You think a policy like that can come into being in 4 months? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, the president should. The president should have been realistic.
Are you telling me that in 4 months?
Well, I wasn't the one who made the promise.
When the previous government came in and they said 1 district, 1 factory, how long did it take them?
So the president put a timeline to this.
Give them the benefit of the doubt and let's see. Let's see. Look, Ghanaians aren't gung-ho. Ghanaians have passed that point of being gung-ho. They are looking for specifics. They are looking for action. They are looking for implementation.
They are the first group of politicians, the political party where I have seen that their party members are angry that they won. And it was quite bizarre, the way the NDC grassroots, marshaled by their youth front and their communications front, were attacking everybody, going police station to polling station on declared results and all those things that happened. People saying they had won when they hadn't won. All the courts up and downs. So it sets a tone for this. I think it set a tone for the sort of governance we're going to have for the next 4 years. And then the 100 days has shown us that is it. Then we moved on from that to everybody go home, sacking people left, right, front, center, and non-political actors, people who normally you feel that they are public servants. Every one of the people were sent home, people who had their appointments. In fact, the Chief of Staff wrote a letter that everybody who was appointed after the 7th of December should go home. Then his people decided to interpret it to mean their own. Some people went as far back as 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago, were sacking people. Notably, they were sacking people who were related to past government officials, and they come and making news of Safomafu's son was assassinated. We are rationing water. So it is John Mahama's fault that we are rationing water. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to listen to them. My personal issue is that if you have to ration it, let me get the water and I'll pay for it. But you don't let me pay for water I am not getting. I live in a place where we have what we call the flat rate. Our water is flat rate. So whether I get water or I don't get water, at the end of the month, I'll pay my 400 cedis. That is extremely unfair.
No, but the Ghana Water Company...
So it means that 400 cedis is going to go up.
But they've also said that store water.
There's no water. That's none of my business. You are supposed to provide the water. There was no water when Nana Addo was in power. You said it was Nana Addo's fault. We should ask Nana Addo. He's accountable for it. So why shouldn't I ask John Mahama? He's supposed to provide me with the water. You do not expect me to pay 400 cedis for water, whether I get water or not, and even raise it by 4%. I go out, I go and buy my electricity. I buy my credit. I come home, I don't have light, but I still pay 14% extra. And it all happened in your 100 days. So for me, it's for all settings. But the president also asked that we give him some honeymoon. I think he also asked for 120 days.
Yes.
We have just 101. In fact, it's just 101 days. So he has 19 days more. I will be a bit charitable to him. And let's wait for the 19 days to end. And then we can go full hog. But looking at, he spent more than 90% the time towards the 120 days. He's done nothing. He's rather come to double the hustle of Ghanaians when he promised to actually cut down our hustle. He's doubled it. He's made it worse.
Ellen, you've just mentioned a number of issues that you think that the first 100 days of the president has been, I mean, in your own word, again, trying to reference what the minority said in parliament settings. But let me also jog your memory about some of the good things that he's done in this 100 days. So, for instance, he's achieved his promise to nominate within the first 14 days the complete list of... Then the president within 14 days nominated a total of 42 ministerial nominees. Mahama also achieved his... by high cost of living. by high cost of living, right? She was saying the prices of goods are going really up.
Last year he was here. He came with Kenke. He came with garden eggs. He came with tomatoes.
I keep telling you something.
He hasn't brought
I keep telling you that. I'm sure that Ella will relate. That when you've been through a very bad relationship, you understand, the trauma lives with you. You understand that you've been in a relationship where the person was very abusive, was beating you. When a kind man comes around and even raises his hand to hug you, you think he's about to strike you. Uncle Jantuah, you understand?
He doesn't understand.
What did the MPP inherit in 2016? And what did they leave us with? I mean, do you want us to have that conversation? I think that conversation has been had and re-had. You understand? So
why are you now in part trying to compare your performance with the NPP? There was a reason why the Ghanaian voted for the NDC.
It's important to know what you inherited. That's why I said the trauma of bad governance, okay, can let you sometimes see a glimpse of good governance, and you begin to ask yourself, you begin to forget about the pain that you have been through, and you begin to just ask questions. Over the past the past 8 years, the CD to dollar rate, the CD to dollar rate, what was it and what did they leave us? It was 17 something. At least over the past 100 days, we've been hovering around. Uncle Jantuah has been hovering just below 16 cities, right? Yes, but the ordinary importer will tell you that. That was the state of the country, where you had mercenaries imported by the MPP officials, providing security coverage for illegal mining activities. Today, the military is back on the ground. They are aiding the Forestry Commission officials to be able to fight galamsey in these areas. We have liberated 8 out of 11 forest reserves, and by God's grace, we will liberate all the forest reserves of this country. There is no facet of our lives that you cannot smell. You understand? Sometimes they said, what you say? At least when you are walking on the streets, you can smell good governance. And Uncle Jantuah, is that not the saying? That sometimes you may not have ears or you may not have eyes to see, but you can smell the good governance.
Smell the aroma
in the air. You understand? Over the past 100 days, what is the biggest scandal you've heard against the John Mahama government? Name it.
Okay.
You want to talk about cocaine, where even your vice presidential candidate is quoted as saying that the fight he's seen against illicit drug trafficking in the past 3 months, he never saw it in the last 8 years of your administration.
He said it well.
Oh, Uncle Jantuah, I didn't see it in making rounds.
He didn't say it. Napo has not said anything. Please stop your mouth.
This administration, your thoughts?
Well, when I saw the appointment coming out, the first thing that I asked myself, is there maturity and is there experience, especially in some of the areas that I found to be very technical. Some of the individuals who have been appointed, I'm not sure whether you would indicate that they don't have the technical know-how, but they are mature enough to be able to handle the positions given them. And I'll give an example. Somebody like Dr. Randy Abe, he's a seasoned journalist. He's someone who has knowledge. He has a good educational background. And he's balanced. He was sent to Cocoa Board. And in seeing how he's handling the issues, you can see there's maturity in there. Because he's not bringing others on board that were not part of Cocoa Board. He's working with the people who understand the ramifications and the challenge to run for president.
It's actually a whopping sum.
$150 million. Have we asked the question, where does that $150 million come from? Have we asked the question? Look, if we really are serious about handling Galamsey, the affiliate things around it that feed it, if we do not look at those affiliate things, it's going to go on. And everybody is going to be hurt. Because water, air, they are both life. They are things that we have to depend on to live.
Right, thank you. Ellen,
Yes.
I asked Kwame Jantuah earlier about the youth experience and the gender balance that has characterized the first 100 days of the president. There are many who have said that these appointments in terms of the young people who have been given an opportunity to serve in the NDC has made the party really attractive for young people. Is this something that the NPP is looking at emulating, trying to, incorporate a lot of young people, young energy, a fresh breath of air into the party if it gets the nod to lead again?
But the MPP started it with Nana Addo. Go and check. When Nana Addo came into power, almost everybody around him was a young person. If I remember his very, very first appointees, the ones that he was, when he won, he was in his office. He had a mixture of both old and new, or young and old. Some of the young people I do remember at that time. Napagatia, she was a presidential staffer. She was less than, she was 25. We had the Abujina Post, we have the Asaase, we have all those other young people. And when you come into governance too, proper governance, CEOs, he used a lot of young people. So it is not strange. It looks like from, let's say about 10 years down, let's start with the Nana Addo administration, and let's even go back to the Kufuor administration. He also used quite a number of young people. But we all go through phases. Parties go through phases. So the young people will take over. So if he asks me if the next NPP administration will use young people,
yes, I'm not saying they use young. I'm saying that we're seeing more of that.
John Mahama 1 had young people. John Mahama 2 would have young people. Nana Addo Dankwa 1 and 2 all had young people. Young people are part of our political class and dispensation. So we will take over. My issue is not even with the young people, the young people who are there. Even the young people, how many of them are women? Young women. You've just bunched it all together, young people. How many of those?
President Mahama has been a former president before, so he has the experience and he knows the constitutional dictates and requirements that there must be regional balance in whatever appointments are done. And we've carried that on even to the admiration of the MPP, who themselves have indirectly, if they will say it publicly, they say it privately, that the way and manner in which we have gone about our appointments has been very strategic. Party officials have had the benefit of being rewarded for hard work. A lot of our regional ministers, for example, are regional executives who have paid their dues in terms of the campaign. And if you look at the hard-working minister for Ashanti region, for example, he was our regional secretary at the time. You understand? If you look at the appointments of MMDCs, we've gone down to the roots. Classroom teachers. Some of the candidates were teaching in the classroom when they were picked up by supporters, jubilant supporters. Ordinary folk. We don't do we don't capture a party like our friends who are dealing with a particular tribal capture of their party and who are fighting this hegemony to try and take over and break away from that. Look, the NDC has learned our lessons in opposition, and we learned them very, very well. Our party chairman, our president, our party elders have ensured all women in the MPP party should be made what? Vice president. And I was happy to see the former MP for Domi Kwabenya, Adwo indicating that her next target will either be president or vice president or speaker of parliament. We've also had a speaker of parliament who is female. So the glass ceiling is only left for the presidency. So right. I think that we should all, as a country, and the affirmative action bill, it's not a law.
Yeah, it's a law.
We should push for it. You understand? Let's all push. This is an issue that should be non-partisan. We should all agree, including the CPP, that look, at the end of the day, we need more female representation out there. I have 2 daughters, so I want them to aspire to be the best that they possibly can be anywhere.
Lawyer, let me come to you as we conclude on this issue. Do you have anything to say?
Hello?
Yeah, hello, lawyer. I can hear you. Do you have any
you see, the problem with political parties is that when advice is being given, they try to brush it aside and justify it anyhow. This idea or this complaint of lack of regional balance is not a parochial view.
The time to call the president to advise him is now. The time to pray for our country's peace is now. We shouldn't wait until it's too late. And most importantly, to you, the people of Ghana, you are the fountains from which justice flows. You see that from Article 125 of our Constitution. It says that justice emanates from the people and shall be administered in the name of the Republic by the judiciary, which shall be independent and subject only to the Constitution. And so to you, the people of Ghana, you are the one who can stop this naked usurpation of the judicial powers by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You are the ones whose power is being taken away. You are the ones whose sweat and toil keep this nation running. And you are the one who will suffer most when this country is thrown into chaos, when this democratic experiment collapses. You are the one who must therefore rise up and say enough is enough. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media.
All right, so that was a press conference held by the Minority Caucus in Parliament, making concerns or raising some red flags in response to what it says is a calculated attempt to remove the current CJ. This is for the NDC. The NDC has been accused of a calculated attempt, by no means less an institution than the minority in Parliament, that there is a calculated attempt by the National Democratic Congress.
I am a sitting branch chairman of the NDC. So if I were to do something like that in terms of a petition, you can attribute it to some way, some shape or form to the NDC because I'm a sitting executive. Show me an executive member or even a card-bearing member of the NDC who has directly filed a petition against the sitting CDA. I'm not aware of that. You understand? So where does the corporate NDC or its members come into this equation? Okay? The Constitution says that a petition must be sent to the president, who is supposed to consult the Council of State when it comes to the issue of the CJ and come out with whether there's a prima facie case or not. The Council of State is not made up of children. We have even institutional representation in terms of constitutionally held offices, such as a former CDS, a former IGP, a former Chief of Staff, a former Chief Justice, who are all members of the Council of State, a former Speaker of Parliament. These are not people that you can just go and send something to and then they will just rubber stamp it because of what? Because of politics? Does Madame Sofa Akufu look like somebody who is not independent-minded that you can just rubber stamp her into thinking? She even joined petitions and protests against persons or against a government that we all thought she was aligned to. So she's clearly independent-minded. She's not a pushover. So these are not people that you can just get up and file any frivolous material and expect that, because unless you can show me an identifiable NDC member who has petitioned the president for the removal of the the removal of the CJ, it is grossly unfair. Even with this, the one time I remember when we were lawyers at the NDC Lawyers Forum, and let me correct this thing once and for all. During the time, there was one period where the president complained about a certain Chief Justice, the current president. That was Chief Justice Nii Kakpo. When we were at the Lawyers Forum, the president made that one, he was very clear that he was unhappy with the then sitting Chief Justice and was hoping that the new Chief Justice would take the judiciary on a different course. He was making specific reference to the then Chief Justice Nii Kakpo. He was very clear, and that one, he's entitled to his opinion. You can't take it away from him. Of course, the then Attorney General and others went back at him during the annual bar conference and spoke their mind. But that was in reference to Mr. Nii Kakpo, Justice Nii Kakpo. That was not in reference to this particular Chief Justice. This particular Chief Justice, the president has not, from the records I have and from all the forum I've been to, made direct accusations at her or said things directly against her. No. There have been complaints about judicial reform, and he has always said that. And recently, when the Ghana Bar Association executives went to the Flagstaff House, he was very clear in his mind that he has nothing against the sitting chief, and rather looks to partner the Chief Justice for judicial reforms. And you and I must all agree that there must be the need for judicial reforms. But that is a different topic from the issue of the removal of the Chief Justice.
Right.
That is a constitutionally mandated process. And that process cannot be truncated. Unless, because I've litigated that issue before, where we tried to truncate the process by way of even challenging the petition itself. The courts have been very clear in their decisions that once the process starts, you can't truncate it.
Right. Ellen, he's described the allegations by the Minority Caucus in Parliament as frivolous. My question to you, do you know any identifiable persons in the NDC who are having this calculated move to remove the CJ?
You don't have to know anybody. You just have to infer from their utterances.
Oh, by inference, that's unfair?
Yes, it's going to be very, very... I don't think that the NDC would allow any of their known people to actually go and petition. I mean, you don't do that. But by their speech and by what they say, you realize that they want the Chief Justice. We have your Deputy Secretary, the Deputy Secretary of the NDC, Mr. Fabandi, this week, going all around, saying that the Chief Justice and the Electoral Commission will go. He's not just the Deputy Secretary, National Secretary. He's also the Director of Operations is it the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. And he has been on radio stations this week, loud and clear, he hasn't hidden it, that the Chief Justice and Madam Jean Mensah would go. We have had your national chairman, Mr. Siedun Ketia, this week, saying that he thinks that the Electoral Commissioner and all her people, all her deputies, every one of them, should be sent packing. This is not the first time they are saying it. We've had top members of the NDC, even in opposition, attacking the Chief Justice. So when you tell me that you have... If
you say they are attacking the Chief Justice, if they raise questions with...
Mr. Mustafa Gwande didn't raise any questions. He was very emphatic that they would go. We've had all their communications people all this week, in fact, for the past 2-3 weeks, stating that they would go. Now, when you come and tell me that we should get an NDC member, whether it is no NDC member, known NDC member will send any petition, but by their deeds and their actions and what they say, you can infer. So if the minority in parliament gives caution that yes, we are aware, and by what you are saying, by what your top party officials are saying, you have been against this woman right from opposition. It is not new. The only good thing is that the Constitution provides a basics for how this thing would be done. You have to go through a process, and the process is what is being done.
Yeah,
you cannot truncate it. So let's see the logical conclusion of this process. But we are just saying that just so they know, we know that they don't like her. We know that they don't want to work with her. And it is their top party people who are saying it. So they'll do everything to encourage it and set the agenda.
But
the
Ellen,
conversation started that we don't want. We know.
But Ellen, the minority was referring to the petitions, and for the petitions, we can't say that the identifiable NDC persons who have submitted those petitions. I think it's fair to say that.
I haven't said that they are identifiable NDC persons.
That's what I'm saying.
When I'm started off, I said it would be I'll find it very strange on the part of the NDC to have anybody who is identified with them, or a member, or a party executive, go present a petition to the president. They won't do it. But they will comment about it. They will say things that will make everybody in this country know that they don't want the woman. So if there's any way they can get her out, they will use it. Right. And so what the minority did is to just issue out a caution that yes, we know we don't like the woman. Unfortunately, you would have to find something that she has done against her. They always go back and refer to the former EC boss, Charlotte Osae. Charlotte Osae's matter, it is her own deputies who sent the petition. And she also accused her deputies of also being involved in procurement breaches and so the whole sect, the whole group. And when you and your deputies are accusing each other, unless they can also tell us that they were sacked or what the process they went through, none of them have ever challenged the processes that they went through. So it's the same thing happening with the Chief Justice. She'll go through the process, and if she thinks that she has been maligned or she wasn't given the opportunity to also say her part, I'm sure she's vocal enough. She's well read enough to defend herself. We are just saying that we know that this current government, led by His Excellency John Mahama, his party chairman, his party secretary, and all of them do not like this one. They have said it, that the woman will go. So they should allow the process to work. And we are just bringing the minds of Ghanaians to the fact that there is an agenda. We perceive that there is an agenda against the Chief Justice. Right, perception is not always reality. Let me come to perception. Let me come to let me come to lawyer. Lawyer, this is your remit. What does this do to the independence of the judiciary, i.e., the Chief Justice? Commentaries like this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, lawyer. Please go ahead.
Well, largely, I would agree with the comments made by Ellen in the studio. But there's a problem that we have to deal with, what we call the equalization principle, that anything that happens within the MPP should be equalized by the NDC, so that the constant refrain that Charlotte Osae was removed by the MPP, and therefore the NDC can also remove a Chief Justice. It's something that is always recurring. Now, like we all know, the article is clear on the grounds for the removal. It is not the presentation of the petition itself, but the grounds. If you are able to meet those stated misbehaviors and infirmity of body and mind and incompetence and all that, then you could make a case against the individual. Now, some of the issues raised, like Nii Kakpo said, we have all not seen it. But these are speculations about the way she handled matters, I mean, she may have administrative duties. Yesterday, somebody published the auditors or management report on the audit. And you find that most of the things are even more directed at the Judicial Secretary and the Director of Finance. Maybe one or two matters had to do with her personally. So it is not like she's involved in anything, but you find that you begin to wear two hats. Immediately you go and sit there, you are doing your administrative duties, and at the same time, apart from paneling the judges who sit on cases, once you are there as the Chief Justice, you have to preside. So there are a lot of administrative matters that you have to deal with, quite apart from studying your brief and coming to sit as a judge. If, as we have all agreed, there are grounds for the removal, that should be fine. But the agitation for the removal started long ago, that the NDC showed clearly that they were not happy with the way things were happening, against her, and that once they get the opportunity, they will want to make changes. So, like Helen said, you will not have a known face of the NDC coming to present a petition, but getting someone to present the petition itself is not a big deal. You can always get someone to present a petition on your behalf. The point is, as we go through the constitution review, should we have this provision standing the way it is? Should the president have the power to appoint and have the power in consultation with the Council of States to set up a prima facie case and then ask a 5-member committee to look into it? Remember that the enormous powers of appointment under the Constitution allows the president to do all sorts of things and to allow other people not to have their independent mind of their own. The president appoints you and the president wants you to act in a certain manner. That's why there are calls for an independent body to advertise, to interview, and to put the person through the parliamentary approval with 2/3 majority, so that she becomes acceptable to everybody, and take away this president's powers of appointing almost everybody who eventually will be asked to advise him or to, do certain things. If we kept the powers, that enormous powers of the president, this would lead to, but as it is now, under Article 146, which has not been amended, it means that once you receive a petition, you go the next stage of trying to establish whether there is a prima facie case. You can even go further to suspend a sitting Chief Justice from office, and then you ask the committee to go into the matter. I don't even know how a suspension of a Chief Justice would advance our cause, because it's a 5-member committee that will investigate the matter. I don't know how she's going to, interfere. But you see, social media is rife with news that, the Chief Justice has been suspended. The Chief Justice is about to be suspended, and all kinds of things. It's very worrying, but let's see how it pans out, because there are constitutional provisions that ought to be followed. We only hope that the proper things will be done, and then if indeed there is a prima facie case, they can proceed. If not, then this thing must find a way of stopping. I have said that I don't agree with the learned Attorney General saying that even if cases are pending in the Supreme Court, the process must proceed. I don't think it's fair. The president is the one individual who has sworn to uphold the Constitution and to defend the laws of this country. We all know that where cases are pending, those involved, the parties are expected to exercise some restraints. So why shouldn't the president himself, the man who has sworn to uphold the Constitution, restrain himself to say that, look, let's wait for the Supreme Court to deal with the matter? Perhaps it is moot. Perhaps they can say that if it can recur, then why don't we deal with it once and for all and give proper directions so that if it should come again, we would all have given a direction instead of saying that the thing is moot, so let's forget about it and, just strike out the case. So eventually, my final conclusion or concluding remarks is that it's unfortunate that we have this kind of provision which allows the president to receive petitions and just go on and do as he pleases, because he appoints almost everybody. Yes, it is true that, we can say that there are people there who have independence of minds and the rest, but you don't know what is happening with behind the scenes and where they owe their allegiances and all that, So it's unfortunate, but let's hope that the procedure, as stated in Article 146, is clearly followed and a case is actually made against the Chief Justice, if any at all.
Right. Kwame Jantuah, again, politics, filtering into this issue. The NDC is trying to even the score with the removal of the EC, trying to compare that with the CJ. Why is it that politics, has to be at the center stage of everything we do in this country, even to the extent that a CJ an office that is supposed to be independent, and the judiciary itself, we're having, politics take, the front burner in this?
How can the perception be reality? How can anybody say that the petitions that have come to the president with regards to removing the CJ are backdoor NDC people who have sent it?
But if you have NDC people who are going on...
Definitely people will comment. People will use it as a yardstick to say what they want to say. But show me the proof that the people who put the petitions through are NDC people. It's perception, isn't it? How can we use that as an argument? I don't think that holds water. In terms of the president's powers, when President Addo was in power, how many of the MPP people were talking the way they are talking today? How many of them were saying the president had too much powers, it should be curtailed? Did they talk about it?
What's the point?
Why are they now talking about it now? If it was bad that time, did they say anything about it? And it's because their party is in power, they are now saying things about it.
Better late than never.
Some of us from the word go talked about this. I've been talking about it for years. Who listens? And President Akufo Addo, who was a constitutional lawyer, I expected him to look at that particular process in our constitution. Did he? He didn't. He didn't look at it. And yes, the president's powers, I don't think we should entertain a huge number. He has to vote everybody and put everybody and nominate everybody into positions. I don't think it's right. But let's be very, very mindful. If we say that we practice a principle of separation of powers, then we've got to be very mindful how that separation of powers works for the betterment of our country. If, yes, there's a prima facie case to be held against the Chief Justice, the process in the Constitution states what should happen. Do we know, in opposition, maybe you heard, but I didn't hear it, that President Mahama says if he's given the nod, he would move the Chief Justice? Did we hear that? Tell me.
We didn't, but he raised questions with,
The fact that he raised questions doesn't mean he wanted the Chief Justice out. Come on. Let's be very, we shouldn't be pedantic about certain things and use politics for everything. We have separation of powers in this country. Unfortunately, we are not practicing that rule of separation of powers in our country. And even the Constitution goes against separation of powers. Why do I say that? The president is supposed to what? Take how many people from parliament to the executive? 70%, isn't it? Is that separation of powers? Is that said to be separation of powers? The real separation of powers? 70. In 79, when the CPP government came in, the pseudo CPP government came in, when you stood and won parliament and the president decided to take you into executive, you resign your seat in parliament and come to executive. 79. Why aren't we practicing that today? Because what does it do? It compromises parliamentarians. It compromises them. Because sometimes they don't know whether they take executive decision or they take parliamentary decision. And it is not healthy for our governance system. So far as I'm concerned, let's go through the process. When the MPP were giving their press conference on this particular issue, why didn't they address the petitioners? Why didn't they go straight to the petitioners and address the petitioners, but rather played politics and addressed the president? Why? Because that perception is there. Yes, Asae Ketia and Co have said made their points on it. But is Asae Ketia the president of this country?
But those commentary fuel the perception deeper. If you well said,
have you heard the president say what Asae Ketia said? Have you heard it? People make comments for their own parochial interest. They make comments. But have we heard the president say? He's gone to the... And even when the Chief Justice required a copy, did he not send it to her? Did he hold it back? Did he hold it back? I believe what President Mahama is trying to do, he's trying to be fair to make sure that if it so happens that a prima facie case is found against the Chief Justice, it is fair, the evidence is clear. I don't think President Mahama will say, I can't work the Chief Justice. I don't think so. I don't think so. That is an arm of governance on its own. Parliament, an arm of governance on its own. Executive, an arm of governance on its own. And even you, the media, you are the what? Fourth what of the state? Realm of the state. You are a governance part on your own. And the laws that govern you should be in place. So let's see. Let's stop making kerfuffle and commenting and doing the politics. Let's see if there's a prima facie case against the what? Chief Justice. Do you know what is in the petition?
No.
Paul Adumochi, does he know what's in the petition? Can we say what he brought out is what is in the petition?
No.
So don't let us use that as a yardstick.
Right.
To talk about that. I haven't finished to talk about things. You're trying to stop me when
No.
That is we're talking. You turn your face from me. You're trying
Sorry.
to stop me when I'm talking.
Please go ahead.
We cannot use what Paul Adumochi came to sit on TV to show as the real facts.
We are not using, and just to say, we are not using that. We are not referencing that.
Others use it. Others reference it.
Well, we are not using that.
We don't have the petition. Once we have the petition and we can see the content of that petition, then we can comment rightly. If what is in the petition is not a prima facie case, then it is not right to move the Chief Justice. It's simple.
But it's only the committee that has been put together to be able to establish a prima facie case, right?
Let's see. Let's see. Why are we in a hurry? Let's see what happens.
Right. Lawyer, let me come to you again before I come to Nii. In the spirit of transparency and given all, for want of a better word, the slaughter that is playing out, the NDC going on that tangent of commentaries saying that the woman will go, would you say that for fairness sake that the petition be made public so that every Ghanaian can have a copy of it and read?
Well, as we have all agreed around the table, it's a constitutional matter, and the Constitution says that the matter should be heard in camera. As a result, nothing should come out, because if the confidence in the judiciary may wane if maybe things are published, and then people read and even misinterpret what those things were meant to achieve. And so we want to hold everything in camera, unless we remove and I repeal that part of the constitutional provision which says that things should be held in camera, there's no way that you can bring it out to the public domain.
But
so for now,
perception, but lawyer, doesn't the perception also hurt the the body of the judiciary? Because if the Constitution is saying that everything should be held in camera and that it can be discussed in the open, but we have perception that is mounting, that is rife. I mean, it's doing so much damage to the judiciary already. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. You cannot go against the primary law of the state. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land and mandates what should be done and ought not to be done. And so if the Constitution is telling you everything should be held in camera, you cannot on your own decide that you are going to bring it out unless the mandatory words were not used. Then it is a discretionary matter for which perhaps you want to act. But I do not think that it was, I have to read it again, but I do not think that it's discretionary. It's always been, mandatory that everything should be held in camera. Like I'm saying, now we are embarked on a constitutional review. Would we want these things to come out in the open once and for all, for everybody to gauge and to ascertain whether there's a prima facie case? Because like I said, somebody is acting in his administrative capacity and is transferred a judge, and somebody is annoyed that, well, this judge was sitting on my case and he has been transferred. Meanwhile, there may be a policy that where a judge sits in one court for between, say, 3 and 5 years, that judge must have to be moved because he's becoming too familiar with the area. And so the Chief Justice decides to move the person. It doesn't mean that your case cannot be heard. The experience is that the Chief Justice gives him a warrant to go and complete the hearing of that case, or can even give him a period that, look, every Friday, go and sit there and complete all your apartheid cases before you move. So nothing untoward will happen, except that it is following a procedure, a policy direction that having sat at one place between 3 and 5 years, you have to move. And then the person is moved, somebody does not know of this policy direction, it becomes so peeved and he thinks that the Chief Justice has misbehaved. These are unfortunate things that may not be prima facie, but somebody thinks it is prima facie. So maybe when it comes to the open, then it would be explained that this judge you are talking about, do you know how long he has been sitting in this particular court before he was asked to move? So the question is to be or not to be. Do we want it to come into the public domain so experienced lawyers and jurists can also put in their take as to what they see is the matter, or we still want to keep it as being in camera? Because see, at the end of the day, if I remember in the Charlotte Osae case, I think we were told of procurement breaches that came out. As to how those things took place is another matter altogether. Because when you look at causing financial loss to the state, you will find that the big man is at the top, the big woman is at the top. And there are some people downstairs who are doing things in the name of the big person, and then everything is heaped on the head of the big person. That is completely different from when the chief executive, the big person himself or herself, takes those decisions and gets his hand dirtied. Then you can hold him so that we don't know the nature of the breaches that were the procurement breaches. But we're told at the end of the day that's what happened. So, well, until the Constitution, my conclusion is that until the Constitution is amended, there's nothing we can do about it. Everything should be held in camera.
But they won't give us breakfast.
Right. Lawyer, Ellen, let me take your concluding remarks on this. You have,
I don't have much to say. As we said, these things are steeped in the Constitution, and there are rules and regulations on how we should go about it. This is not the first time this particular Chief Justice, some petitions had been sent against her.
Yeah. I mean, the first.
Before His Excellency Nana Addo left, he had to bring in another one was put up against, and she's not the first CJ. All other CJs at a point in time, I believe, have had a sort of petition against them.
Brought against them.
What makes this one a bit political is the fact that we have political party leaders, NDC political party leaders, who are busily drawing conclusions. So if all of us we don't know exactly what is going on, we don't have access to the petitions, the whole process is to be held in camera, then honestly, what is the interest of Mr. Siedun Ketia and his deputy secretary? At least this week, I can remember the two of them going all over town with this. We should leave it for the right organizations and the right constitutionally mandated organs to work with it.
Right.
It's nothing new. But if they also continue to run the commentary that they are running, then on the NPP side, we also think that they have an agenda against the CJ.
Right, let me delve into some of the comments you have been sending to us here on the forum. Christopher Abbey says, Nii is really talking like a government official. Good governance. Look at the arrogant posture of Sam George. Nii, go to the market. Power really blinds people. And that's coming from Christopher Abbey. He said, Abdul Basit Mahama says, Nii needs to be honest about the Galamsey situation. He's making claims he cannot substantiate, painting a picture for rosier than reality. Even the sector minister for Lands and Natural Resources aren't as optimistic as he suggests. Journalists like Erastus Asari and advocate like Ken Ashigbe would rightly challenge his narrative for good reason. And Samuel Ofosuban says, since when did Jantuah know that there should be a national cohesion in solving the menaces the country is going through?
I've always said it.
These men are double standards.
I've always said
politicians who are not interested in the welfare of the citizens, back of themselves, favoritism. Okay.
That is not fair. I've always said it.
And
this is a national issue.
Yeah. Gavi said this John Mahama administration is a disaster waiting to happen very soon. I'm sure he was talking about the 100 days of the president in relation to that comment. Christopher Abbey comes back to say Nana Addo started with the removal of the former EC commissioner. JDM shouldn't follow with the same mistake and even more. Nana Addo didn't do that. It was procurement breaches. A committee was put together and she was removed. Now, Ghana's democracy may not survive the trial. JDM, be careful. Nii Kakpo Samoa, as a law lecturer, will you personally subscribe to the factors led to oust the leadership Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Well, those are some of your comments here on the forum. We're streaming live on Facebook. You can also join the feed. If you have any comments, maybe I'll take it as we are in the dying minutes of the program.
Mr. Host, we should be very mindful of some of the words we use.
Okay.
The fact that you are Facebook and you're hiding behind the Facebook, you can't call people hypocritical because around this table, we don't do that. So
the sort of words they have used on us.
Yes, but it's wrong. It's wrong. We are all trying to do what? Find solutions to challenges that the country is facing. You can't, somebody's views you can't call it hypocritical. It's wrong.
No,
you should stop that.
Right. I'm sure they've listened. You mentioned the point about being double standard and all of those things. Those are opinions anyway.
They themselves, are they double standard? That they are writing that?
Well.
Please.
Okay.
Last round.
Absolutely. And then finally, the Ayikoi committee was tasked with investigating the reasons behind the party's loss of the presidency to the National Democratic Congress. This week, we're told that a 9-member committee has been put together to make some amendments to the Constitution. Ellen, let me come to you. Your party lost the 2024 election. Ayikoi's committee put together a report, submitted it. Justin Cody announced that a 9-member committee has been put together to make certain amendments to the Constitution. Is a constitutional amendment what the party needs to be able to right all of it wrongs? Because I remember that there are persons who said that the NPP needs an open heart surgery after the loss.
constitutional amendment is part of the thing that we need, and a lot of things will go into it. When we lost the elections, of course, the committee was set up. If you remember.
Yeah, I just mentioned.
You were not here, but we even had arguments on the membership and the constitution of the committee. Some of our people felt that Professor Ayikoi was
wrong, Chairman.
Was what had been around for quite a while, and he needed to allow other people to also work. But they went at it. They have brought their report, and the party have also set up a 9-member committee. And I love the constitution of that 9-member committee. You know why?
Why?
About 4 women on it.
Okay.
For me, that
women power
makes me very excited. At least I know 3 of them. I know our Deputy Secretary Antoinette is on it. The former Deputy Attorney General Diana Ama Daaku is on it. And we have a young lady, one of our youngest communicators, Dr. Ayikoi Amoako, and I think one other person. So for me,
who comes here?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, it's good because we've been pushing that no matter what it is, we should have the women on it. Now that we have the women on the Constitutional Amendment Committee, I'm sure that a lot of our issues as women is going to be pushed because we needed to have all those issues sorted out. Now, exactly what is in the report, I haven't seen anything. I haven't read anything. I have read people like me posting stuff on their Facebook, and they're even getting it wrong. Because the last one I read from you, Nii, was something about royal ladies. MPP, we don't have royal ladies in it. We have loyal ladies. So go and check. Either your propagandists didn't get it right, your script writers didn't get it right, or you guys are not getting it right. You are talking about, I also saw you, and I'm saying him because he's here, saw you post something about our treasurer complaining about something, and our treasurer being an accountant. Our treasurer is not an accountant. Really? He's a medical doctor. So even when you are lying, I beg you, get the facts right.
But Ellen, you yourself have done some introspection. Why do you think the party lost?
Oh, of course. Personally, I have my own ways, and I've said it here on a number of times on reasons why I think we lost. We lost because we lost touch with our people. And there were so many things, and then this will go through it too. I mean, they've gone through it. We have gone through it. When you are in party and you have been in power for 8 years, you're not going to satisfy everybody. There's going to be a lot of issues with governance. People didn't get appointments. Those who got appointment decided to sit on other people's own. Let's even leave the governance. Let's come to the party itself. It started right from our polling station elections, where people felt they were not properly represented. Those who stood for elections and they lost felt that they were cut out from the party's activities, and it was bad. I mean, you got to a point when you stand for an election and you lose, and I did go for an election. I went for the National Women's Organizer and I lost. If it hadn't been for the fact that I had other things to do in the party, mainly with communications, I bet you I would have been cut off from everything. Because I had the audacity to challenge somebody for a position. But that's why we are a democratic party. We are supposed to challenge each other, and the best person would win. And if you win, you're supposed to bring the others on board. But right from the bottom, we had issues where people were alienated. Is that the word?
Alienated.
Just because they went into competition with certain people who won. It was police station, constituency, regional, national. And when that happens, the people will leave you to work. It takes few. And I believe I'm one of those few who decided that it doesn't matter. I went for a competition, I lost, and so what? Move on. There are other things you could do. But lots of people do not understand it that way. Especially when you set out to intentionally malign them, to cut them out. Some even fought them. When it was time for campaign, they'll go on the campaign grounds and you refuse to call your brothers and sisters who lost. But then we all have one vote.
So the issues are
we have issues,
internal.
Very internal issues. And I'm happy that committee has been set up. I'm hoping. I mean, the committee went round, and I'm sure they heard things. So we are going to sort it out. We are going to have our open heart surgery and all the other surgeries that we need very fast. Because this committee has just 3 weeks to bring their report. And in July, we'll go for what we call the delegates, what do we call it? The conference. Where we would amend the constitution. We'll look at the
Which
report.
part do you want amended?
I want amendments in how we treat our former executives. from zero, from polling station all the way to the national. And then how we treat our former appointees and former MPs. So far as the person has worked for the party in a certain capacity, when they go off, we should find something for them to do. They should be part of the process because they have followers. They have people who would also help them. We need to work on that. And then women representation. The women shouldn't just be boxed into the women's organizer roles. Why don't we allow the women? It's true nobody stops you from standing for a chairman or vice chairman. Nobody will stop you. But the sort of obstacles you face, I think we should move some from the way, both in the constitution and normal way. Let the women also stand for other positions apart from it. And I hope that at the national level, especially at the National Delegates Conference, we will take out that, the youth and the women's wings at the national level. They are voted for by only the women. Let me take the women's wing, for instance. The people who vote at the national level are the constituency women organizers and their deputies, regional women organizers and their deputies, female DCEs, and female MPs. And I think Council of Elders, the females. I want that to be taken off, and just like we do it at the regional level, where all delegates vote for the the regional women's organizer, we should have all delegates vote for the youth organizer and the women's organizer. I know the NDC also have theirs in a special way. Maybe it works for them. For us, it doesn't work for us. Delegates should be able to choose the national women's organizer, the national youth organizer at the delegates conference, national, just like we do at the regional level. That is my personal. What I want change. Other people too have other things that we want change. Our delegate system, we need to open it up. How would open it up? How they'll do it? I'm sure a lot of suggestions have come up. Whatever the case may be, we cannot keep the current system that we have. It has to be opened up.
Right, Kwame Jantuah. You want to come in before Kwame comes?
I want to go and look for kinky to eat.
You won't get kinky.
You're not giving us.
Let me come to you, Nii Kakpo.
My bread and egg didn't come, so I'm not happy.
Well, we have something for you.
You don't have anything for me.
We have, please.
I'm not happy with you. Now, I think when you look at Musa Dankwa's poll, Uncle Jantuah, what is the number one cause of the MPPDP?
What is an allegiance, an alliance?
No,
yeah.
Uncle Jantuah is my senior uncle. So
just that. Okay.
So there's one central reason why the MPP lost, and Musa Dankwa has captured it in his poll, and I think that the MPP should go and look at that poll. I think that the MPP as a party needs to. Especially if they are bringing back Dr. Bawumia, which from all indications is the lead candidate. He needs to be able to... You see, I said this during the campaign. I'll say it again. Dr. Bawumia needs to take responsibility for the 8 years that the presidency of Nana Addo bestowed upon him. There were successes and there were failures. But clearly, the economic pain that Ghanaians went through, you understand, if he's not able to own up to it, admit it, and you see, that's what makes you human. That look, there were failings. As head of the economic management team, I should have exercised better oversight of the economy. I am sorry. I failed to rein in certain decisions by the finance minister then, who was profiting from his from taking loans. Those are unethical things that I should have made sure that did not happen. The perceptions in respect of the economic management, the bailout caused pain. I am sorry. You see, the case, you should be able to tell Ghanaians that you own the mess and that you are sorry for the pain that was inflicted, and that when you come back again or when you are given the opportunity, you will not repeat those things. If we don't hear those things from Dr. Bawumia, I'm sure it will be very difficult for Ghanaians to forgive for the pain that was inflicted. You understand? And I think that if he's able to get that right, you understand, and be able to, Ghanaians are very forgiving people. if he's able to re-establish the trust that was lost, he has a future. If he's not able to establish that trust and allows his other political opponents to exploit that and to state that, look, this is the man you took and this was the result. We told you that he was not an acceptable candidate. We are the persons with the message that resonates with Ghanaians. You understand? And that we are the ones who Ghanaians see as the ones who speak the truth, who are able to tell us as it is, no matter whether it is our own party or the other side. He will miss a golden opportunity in a generation to make an impact in Ghanaian politics. I wish him well, but I don't wish him the best. And that for me is the situation. I'm off to look for kinke to eat today.
Right.
But if I may ask, is the Ayikoi report about Dr. Bawumia?
Well, we don't know the details of that report.
What is his problem with Dr. Bawumia? Because Dr. Bawumia will go for a competition.
No, he was referring to Global Info Analytics, a survey that was put to them. Yeah.
Please give me my
Nii,
money.
well, let me come to lawyer Nii.
He owes me. He's running away.
There's a 9-member committee that has been put together to make some amendments to the party's constitution. Any part you want specific amendment done to?
No, I believe that for the party to have set up a constitutional review committee immediately brings to mind the fact that there have been some recommendations in the Ayikoi report which calls for constitutional reforms. We have just spoken about hearing in camera. If that hearing in camera continues to remain as part of the law, then you cannot talk about bringing the thing in the open. And therefore, once you begin to talk about constitutional reviews, then there are things in the report which might be the cause of setting up constitutional reform. And some of the matters that come up immediately is the whole idea of delegates. There has been the talk of this internal party democracy, which has to do with primaries. How do you elect MPs? How do you select presidential candidates and all that? And it is have to do with, a group of people who will form an electoral college to decide on the fate, while the broad masses of the people out there may not have any say. So in the manner of inclusion, we are being told, it's only fair that we look at expanding, because the whole idea of corruption in party politics, not only for the MPP, but for the two major parties, we saw it happen in the NDC, where people were complaining about things that were being shared all over the place. Money's changing hands on the day of the election. The same story happens with the MPP and all that. So the issue is, if you allow everybody, every card-bearing member to vote, won't you deal with this kind of corruption? So it seems to me that until you do a constitutional review and take away the electoral college and to open up the place for all card-bearing members, we cannot implement that part. So I am, assuming that it could have, informed what is happening there. The other issue, I'm talking from my own perspective, because we all have to bring in our input to get this thing done well. The other issue that I have is who leads the party. Is it the party chairman or the presidential candidate when he's elected? And then you have a situation where a parliamentary presidential candidate tells the constituency, I cannot work with this gentleman, so don't vote him into power. Is it a proper thing to do when you have a party structure with a chairperson there? If that chairperson is strong and he has the gravitas and what it takes to run the party, I do not think that a presidential candidate who was elected by the people can go about determining who he can work with and who he cannot work with. That is something that must change. We must make it clear that the chairman of the party remains the leader of the party at all times, whether we have a presidential candidate, a president in place or not. Now, the other issues are whether we should continue to gag party people to say that they should not come out to criticize the party in public. I mean, what happened to freedom of speech? What happened to freedom of expression? Things are going on and nobody is listening. Sometimes when you bring these things out, then they become topical and then somebody will listen good and listen real good. So that's another issue that we have to look at, because the Constitution talks about freedom of speech and expression. Yet a party constitution is gagging people that you cannot say in such a thing in public. Is freedom of speech guaranteed by the Constitution, or he is now bound by the party's constitution? Now, photo albums, you have a situation where after the photo albums have been prepared, then executives do what they call mafia. And then they decide that this person is not going to vote for me, so we are going to remove his name, from the album to make sure that he will not get any opportunity to vote against whoever wants to stand. This tinkling with photo albums must stop. Is there a way by which we can make copies out there, soft copies, give a link, let people go and look at where the names are, so that if you attempt to make any change, the people should be able to stand up to you? And are we all going to commit to it, that this is the album we are going to work with, and stop this so-called mafia thing, which leads to a lot of people, becoming disillusioned about the process? When the NDC set up the the Kwesibotre one, some of these things came up of imposing candidates on constituencies who may not even be popular. I mean, look at our situation where somebody was prevented from contesting election, or a lot of things were done against him to lose. And he said, I'm going independent. He goes and wins. Then last minute, you need these persons in parliament to the extent that you now decide even to give him a deputy ministerial appointment just to hold power. These things can also, stop. And again, when it comes to national character of the party, we should also endeavor to encourage fair representation. So from my point, I have a few of these things that I would like to deal with, and then to eventually send it to the committee to look at. My friend, party colleague at the place at the studio,
Ellen,
is saying that again she is fine with women and all that, but we still would say that the maturity also counts. I mean, we have a very young guy, Idi Muyudin or something, who works in the office of the secretary, but there are people like us and others who have held the position of constitutional and legal committee chairpersons before. The experiences that we gathered over the period, presiding over elections as members of the National Election Committee and the rest, and the work we did, will be there to assist. So why should we only think of young people who might not have, experience, but just because we think that we're trying to push, So I am not too happy. Again, we are looking at new faces. We want to rebrand the party. What is the point of bringing old people that we all know already, who work with the oldest administration and all that? Those who have been in the background should have been brought up knowing their competences to create, that impression to the public that we are rebranding instead of going back and appointing people that have been with the system for some time. That is my take so far.
Right. Thank you very much, Nii Ayikoi Otoo. Let me come to Kwame Jantuah as we wrap up. We've just got less than 3 minutes. Kwame.
Not much to say because of time. I think every political party that goes through the challenge of being defeated at an election should do introspection. I think the NPP are going down the right path. However, they should be very mindful that personal interest doesn't take over. Where people's personal interests now take over what needs to be discussed as a national party. I wish them well. My affinity with the MPP is the fact that I have a lot of relatives in that party. Plenty. Name it, they are there. And I like to see an opposition that is strong. Unfortunately, my own CPP party does not give a strong opposition to the governments that have come into power. And they're trying our possible best to work at it. But right now we have two major parties, one in power, one in opposition. And we need a strong opposition party. And so whatever they are doing, they should try their possible best to do it right. They should try their possible best to put away all those people who feel they are bigger and greater than the party, and make sure that they sanction those who said to have caused such a massive defeat for them.
Right.
Let's see how it goes.
Thank you very much. Let me take a few comments, then we can call it a wrap on the forum. This is coming from Christopher Abe. Okay, Christopher Abe still on the case of Mr. Jantuah. Well, Christopher, I'm sure you want to send him a personal message. But Samuel Ofosuban says, the NDC communication machinery is smart. Instead of the media to discuss and analyze the 100 days of Mahama administration, see what the media is debating on their intentions to oust the Chief Justice. Well, that was our first topic. We spent almost 1 hour, 30 minutes talking about the 100 days of the Mahama administration. He says Mr. Jantuah would always punch Akufo-Addo if the topic on board has nothing to do with Akufo-Addo's involvement. Well, that's
yes.
Abdul Basit Mahama says the most ridiculous research questions I've ever seen is, if a legal basis was established for the removal of the CJ, would you support it? Can this be entertained? He comes back to say again that the most ridiculous and redundant phrases in the law is in consultation with the Council of States. It's mischief at the highest level because its advice isn't binding on the president. Then finally from Samuel says, I think there's nothing absolutely wrong if a constitution of an association has been reformed. The constitution is similar to humans. It has life. It has to grow. Therefore, its growing tendency requires a change where there's need for that condition. As regarding the MPP constitution, it must be amended if there's a demand for that. Those were your comments on Facebook, and many thanks for joining us for this 4 hours or 3 hours of conversation. Let me also say a big thank you to my panelists who joined me in the studio. Of course, communication member Ellen Ama Daaku, and of course, renowned member of the CPP and legal practitioner Kwame Jantuah. Earlier you heard Nii Kakpo Samoa Addo, a member of the NDC and of course a legal practitioner. Then a very renowned lawyer and of course former Attorney General Nii Ayikoi. Many thanks for your time. But earlier you also heard Professor Osae Kwapong with the CDD-Ghana. All of them join us to have this conversation, bringing you the forum. Well, this has been the Saturday, the 17th edition of the forum here on Asaase Radio 99.5 in Accra. I'm Fritz Delanyo Amegashie. Many thanks for your time. Do enjoy the rest of your Easter holidays, and I hope that you remember that the reason for this season is forgiveness and sharing love.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.